Hello. So today I'm going to talk about why I chose my research area. So I am a grad student, just starting as a grad student at Colorado State University, studying physics. I'm actually in a hotel right now, as you can sort of see from the video, because I was driving from Minnesota to Colorado. Well, I'm not in Colorado now because that would have been like a 13, 14-hour drive and that would have sucked. So I am in Rapid City, South Dakota right now. So I'm sort of halfway there, sort of halfway. Today I'm going to talk about why I chose my specific research area in physics, which is high energy physics, and why I've chosen neutrino physics as sort of my sub area, I guess. So if you are interested in starting research, or you are an undergraduate student, or maybe even a grad student, but you'll probably be an undergrad student unless you just haven't done research yet, so you might be a grad student, and you're not sure what research field you want to go into. That could be a really difficult question to answer for yourself. I should say, even if you're not in physics, I think this video would be good for you as well if you're in chemistry, engineering, etc. Because I think the process of sort of starting research and picking a research area probably, obviously I don't know this for sure, but probably is pretty similar. But I think it's good to hear at least somebody's experience in the sciences, sort of starting on research and picking a research area. And to be honest, my experience is kind of like, it's more lucky rather than anything else. But I'll give some advice on what I think someone should do if they want to start research or they want to find the right research area for them. So let's start with how I started research. So I want to note first that you don't necessarily want to do it exactly like I did. So I'm going to talk about how I did it. Then after that, I'm going to say how I think somebody should approach it, how I wish that I would have approached it going back. I'll talk after about that. So by the end of my second year of undergrad, I decided I wanted to start on a research project. So what I did is I emailed a professor of mine. So it was just a professor that I had known, that I had had for a lab, physics lab, and I just emailed him and I said, hey, because another professor of mine had told me that I should do research. So I was just like, okay, I'll do research this coming summer, which was the summer before my third year, which I think I've sort of talked about this in some of my other videos, but I'll sort of rehash it here. I emailed a professor of mine and I was just like, hey, I'm, you know me, you know, I'm interested in doing research. Are you taking on students and stuff like that? It's kind of pretty basic like that. I didn't really know what his research was like at all, really. I just, like, he was one person that I knew. I was pretty sure he did research, so I emailed him, and and he replied saying yeah, and he was really nice, and throughout the research he was super nice, very helpful. But we met, and then we just talked about his research, and then he gave an example, like a possible project that we could do, that I could do, and then I was just like, yeah, great. And then it was just off with the races at that point. And then I started that summer before my third year, and then ever since then I did that whole research project pretty much. Like, I did it the summer, but I also did it all the way till the end of my undergrad, which ideally maybe not how long you want to spend on one project, but it was pretty good. I did a lot of stuff, and it was a really good project anyways. So I must say that I didn't immediately love my research. I didn't dislike it, but I didn't really like it yet at first, because it involved a lot of learning. I had big learning curves, like learning how to code for the first time and just learning how to do research the first time. I had no idea what I was doing. It took a little bit to get through the sort of disliking it, not really loving it. It took me a little while. It took me until the next summer where I really focused full time on the research that I really started to love it. I really started to like it. And so it took some time. So for you, it might take you some time. It might take you some time to figure out whether, a research project you do, whether you like it or not. But basically, honestly, I got lucky. Me going completely blind, just emailing just a random professor, not random professor, but a professor who I just didn't know anything about the research. I got really lucky because I ended up really liking the research that I did. And it made me, because my area of research was sort of in, not directly neutrino physics, but it was sort of offshoot from that, like using data from a neutrino detector, not neutrino data, but just data. Um, and I'm not going to go into the detail on that in this video at least. But I got really lucky that I just happened to really like it, that I happened to really enjoy it. That was really lucky of me. I could have easily just not liked it and then would have had to, start a new project, or maybe by the end of my undergrad, I'd be like, all right, I did a research project in this area, and then I want to go to grad school, but it's like, I want to do a different research area, but now I have no idea what I want to do. So I got really lucky that I just bumped into a research area that I really enjoyed and that I wanted to continue with. So you might not get as lucky as me. You might not get lucky. You might, like I said, do a research project that you end up really loving. Like, you don't want to spend another 6 years going to grad school of doing that research. I personally do, I think, want to spend the next 6 years, I guess, doing neutrino physics related stuff, because that field is so huge and so cool to me. Okay, so that's how I went about finding my research area, which really involved a lot of luck, I guess. I didn't do a lot of the things that I wish I would have done, even though I got lucky. So I guess it doesn't really matter for me. But maybe I'd be in a better place now, even though I'm in a really good place now. Anyways, what I want to talk about now is what I think you should do, viewer. If you are an undergrad or a grad student and you're figuring out what research you want to do, these are the steps that I think you should take. Really, it's the steps that I kind of wish I would have taken. I wish somebody would have told me to take, because it would have made more sense. And I think not everyone's going to be as lucky as me. So I think these are going to be some good advice. So to start, I think you should browse your department website. So your physics or chemistry or whatever website, and look to see what the professors are doing with regards to research. Some of them have websites. I don't know how your school is. Some professors have individual websites. They might have little sections of your school website that have descriptions of their research, and some may go into more detail than others. But I would say browse those and to see, what professors are doing, what research they're doing. Maybe you should glance at a couple papers, or maybe you don't need to do that. You just need a general idea. Some professors are, descriptive enough. And if there's anything that catches your eye, you think that you'd want to do research in their area, and they seem, I guess it's hard to tell if they're nice, really. It's about, is the research interesting to you? Then just simply shoot them an email and just ask and tell them that you're an undergrad or a grad student and you're looking to do research, and you're wondering if they're taking on the students, and that you'd love to talk to them about their research. And then hopefully they will respond and say, yeah, just like what happened with me, reply. Hopefully they'll be happy to take you on, and they'll meet with you. And this isn't necessarily like upon meeting you are now working with them. It's you're meeting to talk about their research, to see if the research is a good fit, because it might not be. So that meeting is a perfect time to see if the research is something that you want to do. Don't feel pressured to make the decision right on the spot. You can leave and make the decision later. So it might take you some time, to figure out whether the research that you start doing is something you want to continue doing. It might take you not so long. You might find out right away, really soon, or it might take you a while. For me, it took a decent amount of time. It took probably a year or more before I really started to really love it. Because at first I didn't really like it so much, but I didn't dislike it because it was really hard. Learning coding for the first time was tough, a big learning curve. So I was just really frustrated a lot of the time. So you might feel the same. So it might take you a little while. So you might end up loving it, or you might end up disliking it. That's always possible. And so, you won't know for sure if you will like a research field and a research topic until you try. Really, I think you can get a really good idea if you do a lot of research into the research topic itself, and maybe you ask people, you ask the professor that you want to work with and others. You can really get a good idea if you really put in the work, to see if you'll like it. But to be honest, you might not know right away, because, for me, I could do really any research in physics if it involves like a lot of coding and math, to be honest. That's sort of what I've found that I really like, especially coding. I didn't know that I would like coding until I did my research, until I actually did a substantial amount of coding. And so if you're considering starting research and there's certain things like I'd have to do some hardware stuff or electronics or a lot of math derivations or coding, and any of those things don't seem like something you'd want to do, you won't know for sure until you try them. So I think you really can't know for sure whether a research field is something for you until you try it. So I think you really just gotta jump in, do it. You don't have to, spend the rest of your undergrad career working on this research, but you could spend a summer or a couple months working on it. And if it just doesn't work for you, you can change. No one's forcing you to do anything. So remember that you don't need to make the decision right away. You can take some time to think about it, and you might not get so lucky with it. You might have to change research fields if you don't like it, or if you don't like the things that you end up doing. I should also say what research field you choose depends on what your college, your university, and your department offers. Not every university offers every research field. Some universities offer a lot, so maybe, if you have the luxury of having thought about, or either you're thinking about research before you go to undergrad, or more likely you're thinking about it before you go to graduate school, it'd be a good thing to go for a university that has a lot of research areas, but you don't have to, of course. My university was relatively small when it comes to the physics department, but it had a good 3, 4, maybe 5, I can't really remember, really good research areas that honestly, if high energy physics wouldn't have worked for me, I think I probably would have found a good research area besides from that. So it depends partially on what your university offers. It also depends on what you like. Overall, it depends on what you end up liking. If you like the research area, if it's interesting enough to you, if the things that you have to do in the research end up being things that you like to do, things like that. There's a couple different factors that will determine whether a research field is something you're going to want to do. But honestly, it's really just up to you. You should really just try. It'll be hard to tell right away. I think to really find out if a research field is something for you, you got to go for it. You got to just try it out. You don't have to try it for a super long time, but I think you got to try for some amount of time and see if you like it. And you can get a really good idea beforehand, asking people and doing research on that research topic to see if you like it, but you won't know for sure. Personally, I jumped into it, but I didn't take all the advice that I gave. I got really lucky, and chances are you won't get as lucky as me. So I think you should take my advice. And yeah. And to be honest, I got pretty lucky with my university as well, because I didn't think about research at all going into undergrad, applying to undergrad institutions. I also didn't even know I was going to do physics because I started out in chemistry, which I've talked about in other videos. So I got really lucky that having switched to physics, I ended up having research areas that, at least one research area, the first one I picked, lucky me, that worked for me. So I got pretty lucky. So anyways, that's my advice for how you should choose a research field. And I talked about how I chose my research field. I got very lucky. You won't get as lucky, most likely. But I think if you follow my advice, you should have much better luck, so to speak, in finding a research field that you like. So I hope this helped. Hope this advice helped. And yeah. So yeah, if you enjoyed the video, I'd appreciate it if you gave it a like. That would really help me out. And if you want to see more videos like this, where I talk about my experiences, like my undergrad experiences and my upcoming grad school experiences, you can subscribe. I also make physics and math videos that you might find interesting, so you can check those out. I expect to probably make grad school videos about my grad school experiences, so if you want to stick around for those, you can subscribe for that as well. So yeah, I think that's all I have. Thank you for watching. Now I gotta drive more tomorrow. I drove 9 hours yesterday. I gotta drive another 6 tomorrow. Gosh, I'm tired. But then I start grad school. Anyways, bye.